Hello, today is Monday, February 23rd. Welcome to episode 561 of Fault Lines, the National Security Institute's podcast that gets you quickly up to speed 3 times a week on the national security and foreign policy debates shaking up America. I'm NSI Senior Fellow Lester Munson. I'm joined today by founder and executive director Jamil Jaffer and senior fellows Jessica Jones and Morgan Vigna. Morgan joining us from an undisclosed location. Folks, we're talking about the Winter Olympics, which normally would never cross my kind of field of vision as something remotely interesting. But the U.S., which came in second overall in medals to Norway, the home of my ancestors, by the way, the U.S. came in second in medals, highest total ever, and the men's and women's hockey teams won the gold medal, each of them over our giant rival Canada. A much celebrated event. Also, there is this issue of Eileen Gu and Alysa Liu, two athletes, both Americans. Eileen Gu weirdly competing on behalf of China, Alysa Liu competing on behalf of the United States. There are some questions here. Does any of this matter for foreign policy? What does it say about the state of the world today? Morgan, I want to go to you first. I know you have thoughts about this, these two athletes and their allegiances, Gu and Liu, over the U.S. and China. What are your thoughts?
Thanks, Les. So Eileen Gu is, a Stanford student. She is American. She has Chinese lineage, and she sold out to CCP. CCP offered her $7 million to compete for China, and she took it. She's a sellout. And I think it's highly disappointing that she sold out her allegiance to the Chi-Coms. When it comes down to Alysa Liu, her father, was a dissident, a Chinese dissident who fled, communist China following Tiananmen Square. And they have really built a life here in the United States and proudly American. And Alysa Liu is really just sort of a beautiful American comeback story when it comes to the world of sports. She took time off and she came back in full force and ended up winning gold. Proud American family. And I think this is just a demonstrative contrast between the two, particularly in this day and age where we see this great power competition playing out. I mean, I thought it was also very heartwarming to see, our U.S. men's hockey team so proudly American. I mean, we can talk, I'm sure, about, our FBI director's boisterous celebration in the men's locker room and the call from the DJT to celebrate that win. By the way, the women's team, you got to give credit to our women's hockey team. Men have been around. The men's hockey team has been an Olympic sport now for 78 years longer than the women's hockey team. Women have won gold 3 times. First time in 98 beating beating Canada, and then most recently beating Canada, whereas our men's hockey team, has been around since 1920 and has only won gold 3 times. So,
Jamil, do you agree, are women better than men?
I mean, obviously.
Megan Jaffer is listening right now.
Yeah, I have a wife. I have colleagues who are obviously better and smarter than me. I will tell you what actually amazes me is how fast my wife gets things done. She operates in parallel. I operate in single track. That is actually what amazes me about men and women. I can't seem to parallel track like a GPU would, the way my wife does. But I'll say this about the sporting recent events. Awesome to win over Canada, right? They've been talking up a big game, talking about how they're going to Finlandize towards China. Mark Carney goes to Davos and talks a big game. Well, guess what? Turns out we still are better. We're better in hockey. They may have won 3 of the last championships or the last golds since the 2000s, but we got one now. Our first in 46, 47, 48 years, whatever it is. Huge
46.
win. Not sure, 46, thank you. I'm not sure that warrants the FBI director pounding a beer and acting like a complete lunatic. Look, I'm all about celebrating American sports and celebrating the win. Just it's about the right way to do it. And by the way, you shouldn't be dominating the camera. You should be letting the guys have their win, right? They obviously celebrated an important milestone with by bringing the children of that fallen hockey player who was killed by a drunk driver. He and his brother were killed by a drunk driver. And so that was really the moment. Instead, it became Cash Patel's insanity moment, which I think is unfortunate. And then on the Alysa Liu, Eileen Gu point, look, this is as Morgan has pointed out, this is not a hard call. If you're an American, look, there's something capitalist about taking the money and running, but not when you're working for communist China. That's when you're not. That's when it's not good capitalism. It's just BS. And she should be called out for what she is. And
Jamil,
she deserves
hold on. So are you basically saying these Winter Olympics ratified the Trump view of the world? Is it playing right into his narrative? Is that what you're saying to us?
I think he certainly believes so. He made that phone call to the team, as he should have. I mean, look, it certainly says that America's dominating out there. We're serious athletes. We're serious contenders. It plays right into the Trump narrative, and why not?
Jones,
what's wrong with that?
Jones, help Jamil out here. Good grief. So for those of us of a certain age, we remember 46 years ago, the U.S. team, which back then was amateurs, defeating Russia in Lake Placid in the Olympics. It was a massive upset win for the United States over a communist power. Russia was it was actually the Soviet Union in 1980 was our adversary. In many ways, we defeated them in hockey. It really kind of turned things around in terms of the Cold War, I would say, at least kind of in Americans' heads. Jones, what does it say today that we kind of feel the same way about Canada, which is our closest ally in the world on almost every single issue?
Okay, so I feel like you're going to be disappointed in my answer, Les. It isn't surprising. I don't think it's geopolitics. For me personally, it's that Canadians are good at hockey. Like, this happens to be the sport they do better in. Like, this is their thing. I also will say that I thought we had won the men's team and won more golds than we had, because I assume it's also our thing. We've got NHL, so does Canada. So I felt like we were always battling it out for gold. So to me, perhaps it plays into geopolitics, but I think it's just a long-standing rivalry between the U.S. and Canada when it comes to this particular sport. So I'm sorry to let you down in that matter, Les. And maybe I'm the naive watcher. I just enjoyed the game. Like, I just watched it because it was a great game. It was the gold medal. It went into overtime. Like, I thought the Canadians were going to pull it out. So I'm just in shock that the Americans won. I just wasn't all about the Olympics in unity, but I do, the Liu, Liu's story is amazing. Just everything from her actual skate to her free skate, just like inspiring, just someone who's so happy on the ice. Like, this picture of like American freedom and like choosing to do the love of the sport, right? Like, that was also awesome.
All right. Look, folks, my view here is I'm normally very skeptical of the Olympic Games because I think a lot of the actual activities are quite silly. For example, I think we mentioned this on the show before, the Canadians cheating at curling by tapping the rock as it's crossing the hog line.
I don't think it's called the rock glass.
Whatever, the stone, the sweeper, I don't know. I didn't even know about the hog line until they were cheating over the hog line. You are not supposed to touch the rock when it crosses the hog line, people.
But this is your games as the Norwegian. You should be proud that like you guys have dominated.
And it's an old person's game, so it's perfect for you, Les, given that you were actually alive during the Lake Placid. By the way, nobody else in this podcast was at least alive or conscious of the Olympic Games during the Lake Placid Games.
Listen, a lot of our listeners know exactly what I'm talking about. And first of all, I could compete in curling. There are people my age who are competing at the world level in curling.
Should tell you something about curling.
That does tell you something about curling. And by the way, I do not buy into left-wing identity politics. I do not care that Norway won. That means nothing to me. I feel no sense of pride at all.
Anytime they do anything, you claim it as your own. But the Olympics, you don't? Come on.
No, they're like the silliest things. Some of them are real sports.
The mountain in those skis. That's athletic, man. That was insane the way they do that. I would be falling all over the place.
They fall down the mountain very quickly. That is true. Yes, good for them. All right, that's a wrap. Thanks always to Kelly Crowley, Sophie Wagner, Claude Jennings, and the NSI staff for their help in producing today's episode. Join us on Wednesday, February 25th, for another episode of Fault Lines, the National Security Institute's podcast that gets you smart fast on the national security and foreign policy debate shaking up America. We're on YouTube. Check out our channel for a video of today's episode. If you like what you heard or saw, be sure to rate, review, and subscribe.